As you all know, January is when we have our big meeting to vote all the folks in for the coming year. Typically, we look at D. Where's D? D is back there. We say, D, how would you like to do the recruiting again this year? And he can't get out of the room fast enough. So he says, sure, I'll do that. All right. So this year we have spent at least the last two board of directors meetings talking about the upcoming elections. We've talked about the candidate pool that we have. Everybody in this room is in the candidate pool. You may not have known that, but you are. Dan, what's the number tonight? 103? 105. There's 105 people that are dues paid, that have their dues paid in the club. So we have 105 people in the candidate pool. Laura, can you switch to the next slide? Okay, so I'm going to read some of these, okay, because I really want to make sure that we get this in the recording. All right, and we'll send this stuff out afterwards also. But the ongoing success of OCRA is very much the result of everybody's efforts and support. That should not be a surprise to everybody. I mean, look around at the people that are at the meeting. You know, what has Mark done for the last 2.5 years since we had the COVID thing hit to be able to do Zoom calls, to do the recording, to bring all of this equipment here? Okay, until Dan used to provide us with the hotspot. Now we're using Mark's. We have a spare backup. Okay, unfortunately, you get to look at me at the meetings because I'm the last guy that said to D, sure, I'll run for president, and here I am. But really, the success of this club is really because of everybody in this room. It could be special interest groups that we've got. It could be field day that we participate in. It could be the upcoming Christmas party where you're all there and have a good time. But we really should all take that to heart. This club is successful because of the 105, is that what you said? 105 people that are in it. Okay, the attendance at the membership meetings in person and in Zoom has been really good. Look around tonight. We don't have too many people on Zoom tonight. We've got 3, 4 people maybe on Zoom. A couple more joined after the meeting started. But, you know, through COVID, we did pretty good to try to, first of all, start out with mostly Zoom. And then we had, you know, an integrated Zoom and in-person meeting with some COVID rules for the first year. And as we started to move farther and farther through COVID, we were able to relax some of those rules. And again, this was all done by your leadership team, the board of directors, okay, trying to make sure that we can keep this club moving forward and give everybody the opportunity to attend the meetings and participate. So the bottom one there is we must be doing something right. So what we're looking for is some more people to help us to continue to do this thing right. But, okay, several of the current officers and board of directors have voiced a desire to step down. So everybody panic. Time's up. Okay, good job. That doesn't necessarily mean this year, okay? There's a desire for some folks to say, okay, I've been doing this now for 20 years, okay, and I'd really like to, the guy that's laughing is the one that's saying that. Okay, Dan has been our treasurer, he's our webmaster, and he's been the lead of the repeater team, okay, running 3 roles, 1 person, a lot of work for a lot of years. And, you know, it's time that we kind of look around to say, who can help with some of this? You know, Wilson and Dee and Karen have been board of directors members forever, okay? And we really thank them for that service. I've only been here, this is the end of my 2nd year, okay? But some people would really like to say, hey, you know, can somebody else fill in for me and help me out? So with the above bullet being a reality, how do we keep the club going and if possible, improve in years to come? Back to the 105 people. We've got a lot of talent in this club. We would really like to have some folks say, hey, I'd like to give that a try. Now, there's a little more to that word try this year than, yeah, I don't know what the heck the job is, but sure, I'll run for it and I'll see if I can figure it out. Look at that last bullet. The current club leadership team has come up with what we consider to be an excellent way to give new people the ability to, quote, try it out. Okay. Sometimes I wish our government could do that and we could just, I'm sorry, Rat hole. Okay. Next slide. So we have created something we call the assistant. All right. So it's kind of two people in a box. If you've ever heard that where you work, you know, sometimes there's a person that may be in charge or maybe not. There might be two in a box where you're part of a team. Okay. Highly efficient team. You both understand what your goal is. You work together. In this case, the assistant may be somebody that would like to try one of these positions, and they can work with the other person for a year, okay? And maybe at the end of that year say, okay, I'm good to go. I've had my year of training. I understand what the job is. I understand how to do the job. And now I'm ready to fly on my own, which would give that person that was in the position full-time, the original one that's been in the job for 20 years, okay, the opportunity to feel comfortable with the fact that, gee, the new person wants the job, the new person understands the job, and the new person is ready to move forward with the job. Okay, so during that time, you would work with the current team member to understand the what. What does this job mean? What do I need to do in this job? This next bullet, it could be somewhat controversial. You would also learn the how the current person is doing that job. Now, Lori's the secretary. She has a way that she does the secretary's job. When you see some slides in the future here, you'll see that there are job responsibilities that are attached to these positions that we're looking for people to come forward to volunteer for. Everything is voluntary, okay? We don't draft anybody here. It's all voluntary. But if somebody wants to be secretary, well, they could work with Lori and find out what the job is, maybe how she does it, but the real goal of this is to get the what done, maybe in a different how. Did you get that? You might have slightly different way of doing things, but you'd get to the same end state. So when you're working two in a box, where you're an assistant to that person, if that's what you want to do, you know, for that year, then you can learn the what and the how. It could be you kind of come forward and say, hey, I want to be vice president. You know, I don't need it. I really want to run. I understand this job after you see the job description, and I'm good to go. And then maybe we'd have two people actually running for a position. I don't know if we've ever had that. Have we? Those of you that have been around a long time? Okay, that would be amazing to actually have a vote, because usually we get to January and we have one person for each position and we say, any objections? Nope. Okay, everybody says yes and they're all in. So the vote takes 5 seconds. All right, but maybe you would like to do that position without the assistant role. We're doing something else too, then this probably will end up being a bylaws change. Currently, we have board of directors, individuals that are part of the board of directors. The OCRA Club does not have a limit on how many board members we can have. We'd like to have more than one, but you know, we probably don't need 20, but you know, doesn't say we need 4, 5, 7. So there's no real headcount limit on how many board members. And some of the people would like to commit to staying on after their 2 years, but they're not sure whether they want to stay 2 years again. So until this year, if you said, yeah, I want to stay on, I'll stay in the position. Well, that person kind of sort of got elected again for another 2-year position. So that 2 now becomes 4. So what we want to do is change that. So a person could be a board member. They're at the end of their second term, and you'll find out how many of the board members are at the end of their second term shortly. And they'll say, yeah, I'd like to stay on, but I got a lot of stuff going on. I can stay for 1 more year. Fine. So we're going to change that. So the board members can now stay for 1 year or 2, okay, up to them, or they can say, no, I've got to step down. So a little more flexibility with the board of directors positions. We also have something that we want to set up, and we kind of have this right now. It was been somewhat unofficial, and Aurora, if she was here, she could explain one of the roles that she has, but a special interest board member. Okay, Aurora kind of runs the ham pie group. She's a board member, but she's taken over the responsibility to lead that. She also sets up, I think, at least 2 years in a row, the fox hunt. Okay, another special interest group It could be a board member, or it could be anybody, a special different person, I guess, not special person, but a totally different person for Christmas party. Okay, that's a vice president role, but we have a team of people with Lori and Jean and Patty that are the lead for the Christmas party. So we have special interest kind of board members also. If you have any questions, throw your hand up in the air and I'll wander back with a microphone so we can get that. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is an eye test. We're not going to spend any time on this because I have 3 slides after this that kind of blow everything up. But just let me explain the colors. So the colors, the yellow positions, are the positions that we actually vote for, where we have a candidate that is interested in the job. We would vote for that person and that person would get elected. Or we have 2 candidates and we'd vote and one of the people would get elected. The green positions are kind of appointed, but they're appointed based on somebody volunteering for that job. And they're positions that really require a special type of a skill. So for example, if I said, I want to be the lead for the repeater team, I'm going to do the design of the hardware, I'm going to do the software design, and I'm going to support the repeater. Dan would be not in his right mind if he said, Bruce, that's great, go move forward. I'm not qualified for that. All right, so the appointed positions would be really kind of like, I'd like to do it. And then the person that's currently doing that role would say, okay, let's talk about it to make sure you understand what that position is. And you'll see that in a minute because we have job descriptions for all these now. What is that role? Do you really want to do that? Based on, do you really understand what it is? And do you have the skill sets for it? Because look what we've got there. Repeater lead, webmaster, Oxcom. Do you understand emergency management? Do you have the skills to handle what's going on with Orange County and maybe extend into Durham and Chapel County or counties or Chatham County? Outreach coordinator, I'll explain that in a minute, and programs for the various programs and presentations that we have for at the meetings. And then the last category with really no color there, and that's kind of the focus group leaders. So we've got field day, ham pie, Christmas party, fox hunt, or more. So if you happen to have a special passion for something and you believe there are other individuals in the club, or you'd like to see if you can gather other individuals in the club to be part of this special interest group, you know, maybe you want to join the board and help with that and help drive that in addition to what the board member's role is. So flip to the next page. Okay, so here's the yellow folks. Okay, the term for all of these is 1 year, but the treasurer is really, we'd prefer it to be longer. You'll see when you get to the job description, it's more than can you balance your checkbook. Okay, there's some tax rules and regulations you have to understand. Of course, there's the bank accounts you need to manage, and it's good to have continuity in a position like that. President, maybe 1 year is fine, okay? Depends what you're doing at the end of that year. Maybe there's something you want to carry forward to the second year, okay? Same with the vice president and same with the secretary, okay? They can be 1 year, but the treasurer, we'd really like to make sure that somebody that wants that job is interested in it for doing it a little more than 1 year. And you also see, you know, do they have an assistant? Okay, the president has the vice president. Okay, and you'll see by job descriptions that the vice president job description really is to act for the president in the event that the president is absent. And there's a few more things, but vice president would be my assistant. Does the vice president have an assistant? Well, maybe, okay. Maybe there's put 2 in a box for a year. Treasurer, yes, it would be really good to have an assistant for the treasurer just to learn the what and to learn the how. Okay, you really need to understand what roles, what job responsibilities, what tasks are part of the treasurer's job. How is it currently done? Okay, does the way Dan is doing it, is that the way you would like to do it? Or through this year, you know, you and Dan could talk about things and find a better way to do it. And when you take over, maybe the what, or the how rather, is a little bit different than it has been. Not a problem with that, because the what is really what's important. Secretary, optional, not really necessary for an assistant, but there could be. And then board members, no, they would not necessarily have assistants because we've got 5 or 6 of them right now. I'm not sure how many we've got, but we've got 5 or 6. But they all do the similar role, and they kind of act as an extension of the elected officers. Next page. Okay. Repeater lead, webmaster, OCSCOM, and outreach. Again, they're 1 year, but because of the role, the job description, we'd really prefer that if somebody was interested in one of these roles, you would be involved for more than 1 year. And I think you can understand why. I mean, if you've heard what's going on with the repeater team, Dan and his team, which is now John and his team, okay? Well, but the team also includes Paul. It includes Mike. It includes, I don't even know everybody from Chatham that's on the team. But I think 5 or 6 people.
That's an even relationship with like Charlie Durham.
All right. Okay. So that's Durham. Yeah. Yep. So there are folks that are on the team from OCRA that work with the team from Durham. Okay. Because if you rewind to a year ago, July, we started off with the tri-county repeater planning. So how can Durham, Orange, and Chatham complement each other? What can we do with the repeaters? I think, Sam, you're actually part of the Durham team. So, well, at least reading the memos, it sounds like you are when you start getting into some of the computer interfacing and stuff like, yeah. So it'd be with what the repeater team is trying to do, it'd be really good to be able to be in that position more than a year, because you're not going to get stuff purchased, designed, installed, and running, and then integrated with the other counties. The year will be over before you get finished. And webmaster, the same thing, not quite as long reaching, but there's a lot of strategy and tactics associated with being the webmaster and working with the club and what we're trying to do. OCSCOM, form a relationship with Orange County and work with Chatham County. They've already got a group down there that handles that, but you're not going to build a relationship and work on processes and procedures and integration in a year. If you get to 2 or 3 meetings in a year, that might be good. Outreach, we'll talk about that, and programs. That doesn't really need to be more than a year, because that role is what do we have in the queue? What interests the people? What people can we put together? Can we find that can do a good program like Ron did tonight for something that we're interested in seeing? What projects have we worked on? Okay, so we've been pretty successful. John and Bill have been working on the programs team now for 2 years, and I think we've had programs at every single meeting. And they've done a really good job pulling all of that together for us. Next page, please. Okay, and then here's the special interest groups. And this just lists 4 of them that we have right now. We could have more. Depends what kind of interests the folks on the team would have. Okay, next slide. All right, before I get into this, let me embarrass somebody. Chris, I'm going to embarrass Chris. He's sitting back there all by himself saying, I'm having a great time sitting here. When there's another slide in here a little farther on that talks about the term for the board members. Chris happens to be the only board member out of in the whole club here whose term is not expiring in December of 23. Okay, Chris is actually expiring in December of 24. His term, he's not. All right. So what I would like to do is walk back there with the microphone and just get kind of an impromptu, what do you think of the group? Whatever the words are you want to use, talk a little bit about your role. Hang on, needing a mic.
So I failed miserably because Bruce sent me a couple emails asking me if I wanted to talk about this tonight. I never got a chance to check my email, so I apologize. But so Dee invited me to be part of the team as a board member, and I wasn't quite sure what to expect because I haven't been a board member before. But I have a very busy schedule at work. I work for UNC, and the time commitment's been very favorable. I don't put a ton of time in. The meetings are great. I'm surrounded by a bunch of really smart people who have a bunch of great ideas in collaborating about the future of the team, the events that go on, the planning of upcoming presentations. the direction of the club, what everybody's doing in their lives. So it's been a lot of fun getting to know the team on a deeper level there. So I've really enjoyed that. I didn't know what I could bring to the meetings. And when I finally did get up enough courage to say something, everyone was very receptive. So I've been really enjoyed my time. Again, I still have another year to go, which I really feel I'm probably going to continue on if they'll accept me. But yeah, I didn't have anything prepared to say other than we really could use your help. The club doesn't run on, just what if this happens, what if that happens. It's really putting a bunch of great ideas together from people who have passion about this hobby. So if you are interested, if you feel you're not experienced enough, don't let that stop you. Come on in and join us. It's been a lot of fun. It's one of the few things I actually look forward to every month. We have a lot of, club activities between the Durham County Club, the Orange County Club, and the Granville County Club that I belong to. But the Orange County Board meeting and the Orange County meeting are something I really look forward to. So, but anyway, again, if you have any questions, you can come up and talk to me afterwards. But it's really a great opportunity to get involved in a club that does a lot of cool things. And there's a lot of really smart people in this club. So surround yourself with them. So I was 20. Yeah.
Thanks, Chris. See what happens when you don't answer my emails? So I'm not going to read through these. What I will do, of course, it's being recorded, so you can go out to our YouTube channel and you can see all of this. But what I'm going to do tomorrow is I will take this presentation and, sorry, Ron, I'm going to cut your part of it off. So it's just going to be the election part. And I will put it in a PDF and I will send it out to the Groups IO. So everybody on Groups IO can get the presentation on the election. And I will also put it up on our files page on the website. So we'll have it either direct in your email, or if you're comfortable in using the file section of Groups IO, you can go out and pull it down there. You'll have that. But just let me give you an idea of what we've got. So each person that is playing in one of these offices put together what they believe their responsibilities are. Then we got together as the leadership team and we reviewed all of them, and we allowed the person in that position to talk about how much time they actually spend. Because I think a lot of people are thinking, there's no way I can do this job, because he or she has got to spend 5, 10, 20 hours a week working on this based on what we do here at the meetings, et cetera. The only person that spends a lot of time all at once is Dave, and that's when it's field day time. Okay, you'll see when we get to that. But seriously, I would say that I spend roughly 10 hours per month doing OCRA president jobs, okay? A lot of it is at meetings, the board of directors meeting and the membership meeting, all right? So that's 3 hours right there, and maybe a couple hours for prep time, another hour for printing badges if I can get them done correctly. Sorry about that. I'll put a 1 on yours when I print the next one instead of a 4, okay? But there's more time, casual time, working on the computer, putting stuff together, talking to people, okay? It's not a huge amount of time. Okay, vice president, a little less, 5 hours. Laura, could you flip the page? The treasurer. Now, to be fair with Dan is the treasurer, Dan is the webmaster, and until John got back from Colorado, Dan was the computer team lead. Now he's a computer team member, but because of all the activities going on with the repeater team, not computer team, sorry, wrong word, with a repeater team lead, that's been a more significant amount of time than any single person should do, which is why we wanted to split these into 3 roles. So Dan believes that as a treasurer, that would be roughly 10 hours per month. Lori said 7. So Lori does a lot more than sitting here watching that computer, because she transposes all of this stuff and puts them into the YouTube and gets all of the hard copy notes and puts them up on the webpage. But still, it's 7 hours a month. That's not even 2 hours a week. Okay, next page. Board members, and this is from them, 4 hours a month. Okay, so that's not a board member that's working a special interest group. That's a board member being a board member. So come to the meetings, participate in the meetings, give us feedback, review the notes, make sure they're all correct, et cetera. Okay. And sometimes that extends a little bit longer if you're a special interest type thing. Webmaster. Well, as long as you're not completely doing a web development and re-architecting the OCRA web pages, it's care and feeding of the existing. Okay. And again, we even get into, this is the how. Okay. Right now, it's WordPress is the engine that's driving our web page. Okay. Maybe somebody that wants to take this over might be more comfortable with something else, but that's a development stage. That will be more hours. Okay. But to do the what and the how, it's roughly 4 hours a month. So you can start adding this to Dan with treasure and web page. Okay. So we're starting to get up there. Field day chairman. So Dave is the only role that is really not hours per week or hours per month. And Dave gets heavily loaded from May, end of April, to probably the middle of July, middle to the end of July, because Dave is the field day chairman for not just OCRA, also DFMA. So Dave's going to both meetings, doing presentations for both meetings, coordinating everything that's going on for our field day activity, for our on-site activity, pulling in the data and stuff from the people that are working from home now, because ARRL changed the rules during COVID. So now he doesn't have to pull the statistics together, but we still nice to know how many people are doing what, so we can get a good understanding of how many folks are participating in the OCRA DFMA field day. So roughly 40 hours during that period of time. Next page. Outreach. This is totally new. And that job description is something that Aurora wrote because she wants to take on that role. She waved her hand and she said, I want to stay on the board of directors. Her 2-year term is ending. Okay. But she would like to stay on, and she would very much like to play the role of the outreach coordinator. And she believes that 5 to 10 hours roughly, because it's just getting started. Once things get in the maintenance mode, it might go down some. But if you look through that, I mean, this is us to the community. You know, how do we identify new people, new kids, you know, younger than 70, you know, that want to get their ham radio license. All right. So she really wants to play that role. So she waved her hand and said, me. Great. Okay. Repeater lead. I kind of already explained that, but you know, there's another 5 to 20 hours that's been on Dan. So if you start adding those 3 things up, you know, Dan has been spending probably 40 to 50 hours or more a month. Okay. When he's in a maintenance mode, when they're in a development mode, okay, it's much heavier than that. So we got to split Dan's 3 roles up into 1 or to 3 different people. Next page. All right. So here we got the problem. Term expiration. January 24 is our next election. So everything you see January 24, it's, you know, the second Monday of the month when we have that meeting is when we elect the new officers. Now, it's not as bad as it looks here, because some of us have said, hey, we'll stay for another year. Let's see if we can get assistance so we can work with a person that might be interested in taking that role. Okay. And we're not going to just run out the door and let the club fall flat on its face, but we would still like to get some folks, some of the 105 that maybe have never done this before, that have always been somewhat intimidated by, I can't do that. Yeah, you can. Let's work together for a year. Let's figure out what it is and make you comfortable doing it. And then there's Chris. If we all leave, you'll see Chris up here in February. We don't want poor Chris to have to do that. But seriously, I mean, you know, and again, we don't have a number of board members. So number 7 could be you. Okay. We have a volunteer. Somebody. All right. Thank you, Chip. Chip just volunteered for webmaster. Excellent. Excellent. What time's the interview tomorrow, Dan? Excellent. They're already working out when can they get together on Zoom? Can they talk about the job? So we've got a transition we're talking about. We've got a roles and responsibilities. We got a what, and we'll talk about the how. So that's exactly how this could work. Okay. All right. So pretty soon we're going to have an auction to find out who wants to raise their hand for another job. But seriously, I mean, everybody here, you know, I've been here, this is my second year. Dan, I can't count that high. Lori's second year. Dee, Wilson, Karen, a long time. And we really appreciate it, you know, and they've all said they would be interested in staying over again, okay, for another year. And they're not sure yet whether it's 1 or 2 years, but they have that flexibility. All right. Aurora wants to stay in a new role. Chris, he doesn't get to choose. He's here for another year anyway. But what you heard was he likes it so much, he wants to re-up after that. So we can't be doing everything wrong. We got to be okay. Somewhat of a fun group. Okay, next page. So what are the next steps? To keep the club viable, we need club members to step forward, such as Chip just did, and volunteer to become part of the leadership team. Hopefully, the new assistant position will decrease the intimidation, should that have been an issue. Submit your name and try it out. What do you want to try out? Which position? Let's talk about it. If you're interested in becoming part of the solution to this issue and help keep the club viable going forward in the future, all right, get in touch with any of the leadership team. Most of us are on QRZ.com. If you don't know what QRZ.com is, all right, that's also fine, but it's a website that if you plug in a call sign, if you have an account there, you can set up an account very easily. If you don't have one, it says, do you want to set up one? You go ahead and do that. But upper left-hand corner, there's a place to put in a call sign. And then you get a whole bunch of information about that person, usually the email. There's a couple members in our leadership team that do not have their email in QRZ.com. But again, pemeyer@bellsouth.net, you'll have my email address because I'm going to send this out in PDF form. So you will have it on that email you get. Okay. And if you don't have it, n1ln@arrl.net. Okay. Either one. And I'll make sure it's in the email that I sent out. So get in touch with us. Hey, this is me, whoever me is. This is the position I'd like to, you know, talk to you about. What do I do next?